I like to tell you that everything was perfect for us after this. That we now understood everything we needed to do, could find our individual definitions of happiness and live life to its fullest. But this isn't a fairy tale. This is reality. And reality is, by definition, imperfect. There will always be things that happen beyond your control. Accidents, mistakes, words said in anger, other people, both good and bad. But I'd like to think, yes, I'd very much like to think, that at the very least, we responded to things better. Our Wonderland. Ah, that's the tale of our Wonderland. I'm both so happy about the fact we reached an ending, but also a little bit sad because of the fact that I've enjoyed this game so much over the year I've played this. Like the first 4 acts I've played almost back to back with some breaks in between. But it's like looking at these shared memories here, it's like I'm really joyful to have discovered this game and have reminded me as to why I love these games in the first place. It's the discoverability of these stories, remembering bits and pieces here and there, and then when you go to the later parts of the tale, it's like it's lovely. It's something that I've always wanted to always love, continue loving. These kind of tales that bring so much story through words and imagery. Something that not other games could do in these forms. And I wish visual novels were so much more appreciated by people, because it's such a small niche. Okay, that is going to give me a huge smile actually. After running out on their wedding, Bucks and Hyunar took a break. Not because they didn't love each other, more like because they loved each other. But both of them knew they couldn't be happy if they didn't fight for their dreams. Hyunar got his PhD in literary arts before moving back to Dukan to teach creative writing. He's published 3 fantasy novels and is currently working on his 4th. Bucks was scouted while playing Division 1 softball in college and went on to join the USA women's national team. Just don't punch anyone, okay? She played in both the 2014 and 2016 Women's Softball World Cups before returning to Dukan to coach the university softball team. She and Hyunar then got married on their own terms. Nothing fancy. Apparently, they just went and signed the paper one afternoon. They currently live in a little brick house on the Dukan side of Lambruki. Hope it doesn't look like the shack that, well, we started this episode in. They've got a Dungeons and Dragons group they kept running every week, and Bucks volunteers to coach for leisure services in the summer. I hear they've even been entertaining the idea of a kid in a few years. Is it going to be called Sadai for some odd reason? Gidget bloomed after high school upon finally leaving the prying gaze of their mother. After winning a scholarship to Springwood, I dread if that was called Springfield, they go on to get a double major in software development and graphic design. What you've always dreamed of before Iggy thought that was for boys, when anybody could do that sort of thing. Cell is just his form. They also used this time to really find themselves, attending more and more LGBTQIA plus events on campus and eventually volunteering for Campus Pride, where they first met Cecil, an exchange student from the UK. Of course he is. They became fast friends. After graduating, the 2 of them would move around a bit, living in queer-friendly group houses to save on costs as they interned for small startups and volunteered for local queer organizations. They were finally able to afford the rent for their own place in Lamborghini after securing a junior design role at a non-profit, where they'd eventually go on to rise up to senior product designer. I haven't heard much about their love life aside from the occasional gripe at an annoying ex or two, but they seem content living with Cecile for now and attending a variety of local events to support the community. Orum. Now he looks quite fancy. Orum joined the business professionals of America in high school, through which he got a scholarship to go to business school. So this was him in our Cinderella. Though his grades weren't amazing, he went on to become president of Alpha Kappa Psi. And after graduating, he interned for a number of high-profile firms in Dukan. After a while, he established his own business consultancy agency, enjoying the variety it provided over the predictability of a single company. He even attempted to start a couple of his own businesses. They've had varying levels of success, because that is how the business world works. Still, and it's also Orum as well. Still, he seems to be doing rather well for himself and is quite active in both the professional and unprofessional night scenes in Dukan. He seems to be going through an on-again, off-again thing with Gidget's roommate Cecile. Though if the complaints from Gidget about Cecile abandoning them are any indication, it might be more on again recently. I'm not much of a betting man, but I'd put money on the three of them simply moving in together before the end of the year. And Genzu? Ah, Genzu. Genzu started taking mechanical courses in high school, then went to vocational school for bike repair after graduating. A bit less brozek to his fellow peers, he managed to make a few friends along the way. Besides all of us, I mean. And he had a decent turnout at his grand opening once he'd finally made enough money to open up his own shop. He spends most of his days tinkering away on this and that, and has even started dabbing a bit in car repair too, if a busted up Lincoln parked next to his shop is any indication. Having a few cars in rotation would certainly bring in a bit more cash. I wouldn't exactly call him a social bug, but he does get out on occasion, and he started volunteering his time at a few community events around Lamborghini. Even helping start up a annual kids bike race and donating some bikes to the cause. Not super sure about his love life. According to Gidget, he's had a few flings every now and then, but considering he's never mentioned anyone to me, I assume they were short term. Despite this, he seems pretty content. I think getting out more and having a wider circle of friends has been good for him. Less lonely. Last I heard, he's saving up to buy a nicer place for his mom. And what about us? Iggy. And as for me, well, my path didn't differ that much. I moved off to college, studied software development, buried my head in my games, but with a new sense of confidence. There we go, Iggy. In my life, in myself. We all need our own Wonderland in some cases to find ourselves being a bit more sprightlier. I spend more time trying to figure myself out, doing some soul searching online and on campus, figuring out that I'm ace, but also that I don't really have a preference when it comes to girls versus guys. Dabbing a bit in writing in my free time, which gave me more courage when trying to put my thoughts into words. Hopefully you're writing a fanfic about Kirby or something, and also gave me an outlet for my heart comfort trope loving heart. I became more aware of my wants, likes, needs, even if my anxiety sometimes made it difficult to fight for them, and I kept up with my friends more, made more of an effort to reach out, to keep in contact. I'm not going to lie and say I suddenly became the picture-perfect model of a friend, but then again, who is? That would just be silly. But I did try, I really did. Hey, bring coffee to Genzu sometimes in his shop, upon which the two of us would spend the whole afternoon just yapping in the back. Usual transitioning into beer, and sometimes transitioning to me falling asleep on his floor. Excellent. Attending a few local events with Gidget and Sissel, Gidget would always fill me in on all the latest gossip. Sissel would always look like he wanted to murder me. Aww, what do we do wrong there, Iggs? During a few D&D sessions at Bucks and Hunar's place, I was always the cleric, and always having to be saved, just like in Our Wonderland. And Orum? Heck, I even took up Orum's invitations to go clubbing every now and then. Just every now and then, mind you. Exactly, just every now and then. I wouldn't call it the most exciting life, nor an especially fulfilling life. And I still have plenty of my own challenges, definitely. But I do feel more at home in my own shoes, more at peace with who I am, and where I'm going. It's a life I've chosen for myself, and no one else. I still get the occasional deja vu, the sudden flash of a memory, sometimes so brief and so intense it takes the wind out of me. Other times long and drawn out, filling me with a sense of long-less melancholy. My heart knows what I've been through, even if my head forgets sometimes. The heart never forgets. I'll always take a moment to let myself return to that moment. Let the memory fizzle to the surface of another life, another me. And I'll smile as I think about how far I've come, and the path still left to tread. As long as your heart continues to beat, there is always a path in front of you, no matter how perilous that path may be for you. Bucks has created a group party. Is this where the tale of our Cinderella starts? Bucks has added you to the group. Bucks has added Gidget, Genzu, Orum. Hey! Listen up, chaps! I'm having a Christmas party, and you're all coming. I'm like that expression right now. The end. Or not? What do you mean by or not? Thank you so much for playing Our Wonderland. This game is dedicated to all those who've taken a long time to figure themselves out. Aww. And also my family dog Gasper. This game could never have been created without all the encouragement and support of my fans. Thank you so much, everyone, for following me on this long journey. Also, a special thank you to all of their beta testers, as well as to all the composers whose music helped bring life to this game. Until next time. Wait, what do you mean by next time? Of course, I'd love to see more creations from Carrot Patch Games for Our Wonderland. And it's just us! It's just us on the title screen. But, as you've probably fathomed out by now, there are other paths in which we can take. Other things in which we can do throughout this tale, throughout this entire game. So, looking through all of this, oh, there's a whole gap here missing. So, this is probably dependent on who we chose at the, well, not the campfire? Yeah, depending on who we chose when we were in the shack. And going through all of this. Yeah, the epilogue is definitely... Should this be the same? Unless there are different variants to this, because this looks like a path which we're walking alone. Say die. So yeah, that was what you would call a neutral outcome. Something that benefits all of us, but with making the right choices, we could potentially sway a particular character, such as Orum, or Genzu, or Gidget, to be the choice for us. But in order for us to do that, we need to venture back to the very beginning of the game and go from there. I'm going to go from top to bottom, but I'm going to do the reverse. Go from bottom to top. Think about Orum. My thoughts jump instinctively to Orum. Of the nights we'd spent together, dancing, playing, his skin against mine, but not in a way that was uncomfortable. The flush he brought to my cheeks, just the two of us in our own little world. We'd been good for each other. I like to think that, somehow. Complements each other, in a way that doesn't have a label, because it doesn't need to. I think it's mutual benefit to one another. But what does that mean? I don't know. This is all so confusing. I don't know what I want. I press my hands into my eyes harder and harder. Why can't I? Why can't I? My body curls in on itself. Heart beating, beating, beating. I think this is all going to be the same. Oh, these "we're not killing him" lines as well. They're also pivotal. Because it's like, well, if we say this, then we're not really seeing him as a true friend, are we now? So we're going to say this every single time it crops up. It's amazing how quickly a visual novel goes through when you just skip all of the text. But it's only important on repeated playthroughs, not your first, otherwise you feel like, what the bloody hell's going on? Talk to Orum. This option will determine your final ending. Are you sure you want to talk to Orum? No, of course not. Of course we will do. I push myself to my feet with a little wobble, blanket wrapped tight around my arms. Then start towards the other side of the room. It feels strange, like walking through a veil of a dream. Not comprehending everything I'm doing, yet feeling more in control than I have ever been in my life. When I make it to a bed, I just stand there. Orum is pointed away from me, facing the wall. I'm not sure what to do. I stare at him awkwardly for a moment, shifting back and forth on my feet, until Orum says without even turning around, "Did you want something?" My shoulders give an that word jump, and my gaze turns towards the sheet. Instinctive. I swallow hard. I feel so stupid now. Everything. Why did I walk over here? Why am I standing here mumbling like an idiot? I rub my nose stiff. You, wanna talk? If I could stab myself straight in the face right now, I would. Orum is silent for a moment, then slowly rolls over to face me. He's got the most bemused, bewildered expression on his face that I've ever seen. A trio of options proffered and the music ops for a tonal dialect in B. Interest. What the hell? I have no idea what he's referring to. You think this is some kind of game? So I just blink at him. Blank at him blankly. But of course, I'm always open for discussion. He says this with a sly little smile that I don't miss. Then gestures towards the side of the bed. Do sit down, though. I glance from him to the bed, to the way he's splayed out leisurely, almost like a Rose Dawson on her couch. I pull a chair over from the kitchen table instead. It groans noisily as I drag it across the wood. Squeaks as I sit down. I wince, keeping my gaze downward. As Orum chuckles and sits up on the bed, I can't say I didn't expect that. I run a hand through my hair sheepishly, adjusting myself in the chair. We did spend ample time together after all. Orum scooches forward until he can dangle his legs off the side of the mattress, his chin propped languidly atop his fist. What did you want to talk about, Iggy? What did I want to talk about? Suddenly all my thoughts seem like they're dried straight up. I guess, I clasp my hands together on my lap. Well, how are you, holding up? Orum cocks a brow. Holding up? What is this, counseling and survival situations 101? I just mean a lot happened, you know? And I feel like no one's even asked you how you're doing. No, I don't imagine they would. But I would say the same for any one of us. We all know we're barely hanging on. Why bring attention to it? I wince. He's got a point. Sure, Orum's part might have been the most recent, but all four of us are well past our breaking points by now. I've been stabbed, beaten, threatened more times than I can count. Genzu had his finger chopped off and is probably still suffering from debilitating pain in his legs despite him never bringing it up. Gidget still has their whole shtick they've just had to lay to the side until we figure everything out in here. And that's not even taking into consideration the mental and emotional trauma weighing down in 5-ton boulders on our shoulders. But we don't have time to think about that. We don't have the mental capacity to think about that. To acknowledge what we've been through. To start trying to work through things. Especially when we don't even know if we're going to make it out of here alive to begin with. I'm sure in some way you will do. But it won't be without a cost. I guess that's true, I finally say. I must look especially despondent because Orum gives a little chuckle. Having a moment, were you? I've been having a lot of moments lately. Understandable. Orum tilts his head to the side, then brings a hand up and gently pushes a lock of errant bane back behind my ear. The touch makes me shiver just slightly, but I don't put away. Orum, I start. Then all of a sudden, find my throat stopped shut. Orum watches me silently, waiting. Finally, I know that I was never that great of a friend to you in the past. Orum sits back as I begin playing with my hands, but a pause. I lick my lips. You don't actually think I hated you, do you? There it was. The question that had been bothering me since back in the castle. Orum's gaze goes to the ceiling. He hums beneath his breath. No, he finally says leisurely. He taps his temple with a small smile. I know that here. Even if I haven't always known that here. He continues, this time pointing at his chest. My gaze drops to the small spot of fleshy pink I can see poking out beneath the corner of the color of his shirt. The ugly scar stretched across the skin. Oh, but I would say that's more of a byproduct of this place, he gestures vaguely skyward, than anything else. The environment here does kindle the flames of our worst affectivities. You are very correct. Yeah. I glance down at my lap, pulling anxiously at my fingers. I know that pretty well. This seems to amuse Orum, who reaches forward to grab my hand, palm pointed skyward. He traces his finger across my palm towards my wrist. Yes, we did get to see some interesting sides of you down here, didn't we? Quite passionate. I feel the heat rise to my cheeks and instinctively jerk my head away. Does that embarrass you? The idea of losing yourself to your emotions? My mind flicks back to then in Arc 4. No, Arc 3 actually. I don't know how else to describe it. That loop. The loop I hadn't seemed able to control myself at all. The anger inside of me. Yeah, exactly. Prompting words I never had said otherwise. A bit, I say softly. The thought of how I acted shames me, how I must have appeared to others, especially Genzu. You abandoned him. And the things I'd eventually do. The horrible things. Do you regret it? Yes and no. My face goes even redder. Think about the way he's whispering the words, the way his fingers are dancing up my wrist and arm. It's making my heart beat like a steam engine in my ears, which is just flustering me further. I don't know. I wince, press my lips together. I regret the way I hurt people, the awful things I did. We did. Orum flicks his gaze up at me, studying me beneath his ladyed eyes. Do you regret us? I don't have a response to this. Mostly because I feel so goddamn hot right now, I would swear my throat had just shriveled up on it in and of itself and rendered me incapable of words. Well, you did say you were shivering. Fortunately, Orum must have expected this, as this only seems to amuse him further. I'd forgotten how much I enjoy this. Then he leans in, breath soft against my cheek, making you all twitterpated. I jerk backwards as though I'd just been shocked, chucking nervously and smoothing down my hair again and again and again. This bloody... My thoughts trail off as I watch him lean back, scrutinizing me. He tilts his head. I have had my fair share of moments down here. Moments of awe, despair, and overwhelming joy. He scratches lackadaisically at his chin, but I must admit, those loops where you would join me hold a special place in my heart. I blink at this, my brows twitching. Loops? As in plural. Yes, loops as in plural. Of course. His eyes light up and he leans forward in excitement. Don't you remember? Well, I remember at least one. I only really... But before I can attempt to scour my brain further, Orum's captured my hands in his and pulled me up off the bed. Wow. I can barely keep from stumbling over my feet as he twists me first left, then right, turning the cabin floor into a glittering ballroom stage. There were many varieties after all. Ones where you were more bashful, others where you were more irate. He pulls me in against him to an inaudible rhythm in his mind. Somewhere I have to push you more, somewhere you pushed me. Another spin, but always with that same awkward charm, that same red-faced chagrin. Orum, I sputter out as we go dancing back towards the kitchen. I still mean what I said even back then, but I never had someone show such kindness to me, nor stood up for me like that. Well, I say before nearly tipping backwards. Orum promptly snatches me up as I go tittering back. It's like you fell right into my lap. Exactly what I needed. Someone to care for me as I was. To be a calming presence I could return to once the spotlight grew too warm. To keep me grounded within the chaos of life. I'm glad. I somehow... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to... I somehow managed to say, despite my ragged breath catching my throat. He stops for a moment. I'll never forget the sight of you glancing up from your little game when I come back after one of my parties. Then leans up against and into me, his face pressed against my chest as his lips curl into a grin. All snug as a bug in our bed, looking cute enough to gobble straight up. I laugh awkwardly as Orum moves upward, his nose and cheeks flush with my neck. All those times you let me wash your hair, all those beautiful curls wrapped around my fingers. Higher! I could feel him tracing his lips up to the side of my neck across my chin. Or that adorable way you'd always scold me when I'd crossed a line. He pulls away just slightly right by my mouth, leaving barely a centimeter between our lips. I can see him smiling. Feel his breath against my skin. You'd like that, too, didn't you? our little game of push and pull. It's dizzying, the effect he has on me. The way I fall back into the same patterns, the same feelings, the same energy, all of it. All those memories of all those loops and all that time we spent together. All of it swirling across my mind and guiding my thoughts, my reactions. And for a moment, I can only stare at him, cheeks on fire and lips trembling. Then I turn away with a shamefaced wince. But we both know how it always ended. I hear Orum give a little hum in the back of his throat. Feel him pull back just a bit. Too much of a good thing, as they say. Orum, we killed people. He laughs at this. Memories that will last a lifetime, I'm sure. I feel a frown tug on my lips. You don't feel bad at all? About everything that happened down here? Then let my gaze drop. Those times you killed me. He must feel the gravity of the question because he finally steps all the way back, gaze going skyward. He seems to be thinking hard. It would be mendicous of me to claim I feel no remorse, looking back on things now. You already gave Orum a lot of complicated to, say words. He finally muses, his arms folding behind his back. You of all people should know how persuasive this place can be. Yeah. I can't proclaim I'd do things differently if given another chance. I can see his brows furrow, but I don't want that chance. If this is to be the end, then let it end. Either in death or escape, I won't rewind again. We both just stand there then, our eyes to the floor as the light from the stove colours our profiles. What if we do die? I finally ask, hesitant. All in a silent moment, then we'll have to go through the cycle again. Then he cocks his head with a little grin, arms up in a shrug. Then I'll look forward to you glancing up from your little game as I join you in our castle in the sky. There won't be a castle left, though. This makes me grin in spite of myself, and I bring a hand to my mouth, my earlier bashfulness returning. I feel a little awkward again. The momentum that had been pushing me forward now, gone as I simply stand there like a lanky grey stick. But Orum is the opposite of awkward. He reaches a hand out, palm up in offering. Shall we have our final dance, then, on this eve of reckoning? Didn't we just already have it? There's nothing there's nothing that says we cannot have another. I think this one will be more to your liking. Blinking in confusion, I take his hand, and he pulls me in close. You shed a hug. It's slow this time, so gentle, easy. It is a hug. He wraps his arms around my waist, and I instinctively encircle mine around his neck. The two of us just swaying softly in the middle of the cabin. After a while, I let myself curl in a bit, my chin nestling its way against the side of his head as I close my eyes. It's warm, comforting. His arms holding me softly, eyes pressed lightly into my skin. My support, keeping me anchored to the earth, back and forth, to a melody neither one of us could hear. A dance with its own rules. Iggy? He finally says softly, his breath tickling my neck. I murmur. My body is quite heavy against his now. I feel him nudge his face against mine, so I pull back just a bit. I catch him grinning at me for a second. See his gaze going from my mouth to my ears, then back to my mouth. Then he leans in, pushes up a bit on his toes, and kisses me. Aww. So that's what this CG was hiding all this time. We couldn't see the upper half. I'd like to say I was surprised, but I didn't expect it. But my eyes barely even flutter. Yes, we've done this before. We've done this before many times. Stolen kisses on the stairs, stubborn pecks while I'm 10 levels deep in my roguelike. dizzying sessions before he'd pass out drunk on the pillow next to me, but this time is genuine. I smile against his lips now, letting the memories settle back over me. A familiar warmth. A comfortable warmth. My warmth. We both may be messy on the inside, but we sure as heck are gonna make this out alive. Orum leads me back to the bed before long, tugging on my index finger to guide me over. It's an action that with anyone else might have filled me with dread, but with him, I feel only calm. Our own unspoken sense of understanding. It's by all means strange when you think about it. Someone like him with many needs, and someone like me with none. We both complement each other perfectly. How are we even supposed to work? But maybe that's just the thing. We don't need to fit inside any kind of pre-written rules, like the Our Wonderland scenario we are in right now. We don't need to be any one thing. We can just be us. Two people that care for each other, that keep each other grounded. And as we lie there, the moonlight flittering in through the window to cast the sheets in warm yellow patterns. Orum running his fingers across my forehead and through my hair the way he's done so many nights in the past. I feel a sense of serenity washing over me, and also security. For once, no anxiety grips my heart, knots my belly. There's no telling what tomorrow will bring. If this is to be the end, then let it end. As we lie there, to sleep, and for the others to look at us confounded possibly. Let's have a look. Be right? Fudging ridiculous. What are we even supposed to do? See this face? Does this face look like it's got any goddamn answers? You're the one who's always got something to say. Yeah, well, all my words got stuffed so far up my ass this time, I'm going to start unclenching them all over the floor. Okay, I'm not sure what that mental image was necessary. I'm awoken the next morning to the sound of hushed whispers from the other side of the cabin. I don't move for a moment. I feel too warm, too secure. Tendrils of warmth curled around my waist and legs. Hello? Finally, however, I blink my eyes open, blurry. The light is harsh against my eyes, and I wince as I push myself up on my arms to survey my surroundings. The whispers stop immediately. And when I creak my neck over to take a look, I see Gidget and Genzu huddled around the table, both of them just staring at me like deer in the headlights. Hey, Iggs? Genzu's voice cracks. Morning, Iggy. Gidget winces, her eyes strain. You, sleep well? My mind immediately races. Memories from a previous night swirling around inside my head. Fuzzy images jerking into focus one after another. I snap my head down. The tendrils of warmth aren't tendrils after all. Or rather, Orum's limbs curled up and tangled around me. One especially questionable hand reaching. Are you alright, Higgs? My head shoots back up, my cheeks burning. This isn't what it looks like. I start as I notice the two at the table succumbing deeper and deeper into despondent chagrin. Next to me, Orum murmurs in annoyance. Yes, it is. He starts trying to tuck me back down onto the bed. Come back to bed, dear. This just flutters me further, and I attempt to extricate myself from the tightly wound grip on my hips and waist with a few frantic tugs. I can practically feel the collective wrestling emanating from the table. Then a loud creak as Genzu pushed himself up from his chair. Hey, Blanks McGee, he's trying to get up. Orum appears nonplussed. He pushes a lock of bane out of his face with a languid sigh. Oh, don't worry, I already got him up. I don't like the italics. Almost as like you're not referring to Iggy, but something else in possession of Iggy. Genzu looks like he's about to blow a gasket. Genzu, I interject before this can blow completely out of proportion, because it hasn't done so already. It's fine, nothing happened, we just fell asleep. Yeah, we just fell asleep, yeah, right. I finally managed to sit all the way up, my heart, thudding anxiously in my chest. This is exactly the wake-up call I had imagined. Genzu's face is a pained mixture of despair and barely contained fury. Autumn lolls to a seat next to me, lean heavily against me and draping an arm across my shoulder. Yes, we succumbed to the weary tendrils of sleep. Our limbs an intimate tangle atop the sheets. Autumn! Autumn! I hiss this, very much wishing the whole situation could just be over. Autumn, however, gives me an affectionate squeeze. He raises a brow against his growing acrimony. Because Autumn knows this really rifles up Genzu. You seem vexed. Would you like to join us tonight? We can ship. Genzu's face goes practically purple. He raises a finger as though about to shout something, but he's shaking so much he can't seem to get it out. He clenches his eyes shut, grits his teeth. Then, blushing furiously, he goes stamping out of the door. He slams it shut behind him with such force it makes the whole cabin shake. Rain check then. Autumn, you're not helping. He's musing dispassionately. I throw a glance back at Gidget, who's still sitting there quietly at the table just staring at us. They stand up with a start. They run a hand through their hair, awkward clutch on their lips. Porridge? You guys hungry? Gonna go make some porridge. They point weakly in the direction of the stove. Sure, Gidget. I respond with a tired smile of my own. My cheeks starting to burn. Right. They stand there a moment longer, then abruptly twist back towards the kitchen. I hear Autumn's laugh softly next to me. Iggy. He pushes his face against the side of my head, lips brushing softly just behind my ear. You're so popular. I turn about 50 shades of red, then let out a sigh. I suddenly very much wish someone could just come put me out of my misery right now. Oh, dearie me. Is this going to go back to yeah, it takes a while longer for things to settle down after that. It's settled down as even a state the four of us could reach at this point. Did we, No, we're still in it. Perhaps because of a heavy air of foreboding seeped into every endeavor as the day continues. Genzu remains irate but quiet, refusing to acknowledge Orum besides a few glares, and Gidget, as always, tries to keep our morale up as well as they can. For a glance at Orum across the room, who's currently splayed out on the bed and staring up at the ceiling, my mind flicks instantly to the night prior. Our dance across the kitchen floor, the way he held me, the way his fingers had run through my hair. My cheeks grow warm in spite of myself, and I flick my gaze back to the door. My thoughts return to last night, that desperate feeling of needing to talk to someone. That went against every instinct I normally felt. That wasn't the first time I felt like that in recent memory. No, the first time was... For a briefest moment, I'm back in my apartment. So back again? So we're out of the Wonderland. Are you coming, Iggy? Orum starts to run after him before stopping to glance back at me. Yeah, I'm... I stop. Just look at him for a moment. I feel like I have something really important to say, but I just can't. Remember. Autumn, I swallow. My gaze drops, and I can feel myself start to tremble. It's okay. Huh? I blink back, the water forming once more in my eyes. What's okay? Autumn's lips curl up into a smile. I won't tell anyone if you want to hold my hand. This is very surprising of this current Autumn. Then smile. Smile as 1,000 memories. Moments of heartbreak, joy, love, and love so strong it makes my heart goddamn ache, all pass through my thoughts in an instant. forcing the tears back down my cheeks. I chuckle sheepishly and wipe at my eyes. I guess I can live with that. Then I take his hand, and we go running after the others, leaving the forest and our wonderland behind. This time with the hands of Orum, rather than by ourselves. Orum and I grew closer in high school, hanging out after school, working on homework and projects together. And after Orum joined the professional businesses of America, he started coming up with all these grand ideas for potential business ventures. And he'd always rope me into the back end side of him, creating websites or drafting up finances. So when we both ended up with scholarships to the same school, it felt natural for us to room together. Exactly. It's easier for our finances to... Icky's face. And Orum's as well. But we couldn't have been more different. We complement each other very well. Yeah, opposites attract after all. Orum would get me out of the dorm room, integrating me into some of his circles. And I would be a great listener, acting as an engaged audience whenever he wants to practice a presentation or run through a new idea. Exactly. Or even when he just wants to chill out in as a break from his more exuberant lifestyle, playing games. We became so accustomed to each other that by the time we graduated, it seemed like a matter of course that we would find a place together. So we rented a small apartment in Dukan, close enough to downtown that Orum could commute to his internships, but enough on the edge where I could still enjoy some peace and quiet. We would continue like that for a while, simply living our lives, growing our own ways. I started working freelance, gradually growing out my client base, while Orum moved from internships to full-time positions to finally open up his own business consultancy agency. I designed the website, by the way, and I get 0 credits for it. Orum would maintain his reputation as a man about town. He was constantly busy, meeting with clients, attending luncheons, and presenting to investors during the day, and hitting the bars and clubs at night. He was always bringing back new people to the apartment, but I did notice a sort of change over time. And what change would that be? Or perhaps it was the way he started giving me a quick peck before heading off for work in the morning. Or perhaps it was the first time he introduced me as his Iggy when he'd come back with another woman from the club. Or maybe the way he started automatically including me as his +1 for all his business events and dinners. Aw, look at Iggy looking down there. Or even how he'd start clawing into bed with me on the nights he was alone. Yes, something changed. Or perhaps it had always been that way and I just never realized. And there we go. That was what I was waiting for. A different variation to this screen. To this day, I couldn't tell you exactly what we are. We're two people that care about each other, that love each other, that enjoy life together. And you know, maybe that's all that matters, really. Why do we need to fit ourselves into rules that others have created? We can make our own rules. It's a life that makes me happy. A life I've chosen for myself. And no one else. I still get the occasional deja vu, the sudden flash of a memory, sometimes so brief and so intense it takes the wind out of me, other times long and drawn out, filling me with a sense of long-lost melancholy. My heart knows what I've been through, even if my head forgets sometimes. The heart never forgets. The aches, the scars, never truly heal. Orum remembers too. Sometimes we'll be out at dinner and he'll randomly bring up a memory. This is quite reminiscent of, don't you remember when? My, doesn't this make you feel nostalgic? And I always have to pause a moment. Let the memory fizzle to the surface. Find it there, buried deep within the synapses. But I always do. And then I'll smile. Yeah, I say. Even though it doesn't make a lick of sense, and I'm pretty sure it never will do. And then the two of us will go about our day. And that, folks, is what you call the ending of the Orum. The end. Aww. What is that fluffy rabbit thingy there? Oh, wait, the fluffy rabbit. Isn't that what? Like, didn't Orum once have like a pet rabbit or something? Which is why he always had like rabbit guards. But that's so cute. Aw, little fluffy rabbit. And the thanks from the developer once again. Thank you. And also my family dog Gasper. I love these sort of introductions. The ones which make you feel like you were more a part of this than just the player. You are an observer into the mind of the developer of this game. And that... I love that, actually. That's a great one. That's a good one right there. What's my next business idea? My next business idea is to tap into the ending of Gidget. Think about Gidget. My thoughts jump instinctively to Gidget, of her lips on mine, of the way her eyes tremble whenever she looks at me. Gidget. A pain of guilt stabs at my heart. Of the things I'd said to her, there's something there, beneath the mask she wears, the mask I'd force her to wear. She and I had cared about each other, cared for each other, had meant something to each other, but my words have always gotten in the way. If only I could tell her. I don't know. It's all so confusing. Our first of many diversions. Go talk to Gidget. Something in me, perhaps something I'm not even sure I myself understand, turns my feet in the direction of the overlook. And I make my way towards the end of the cave, eyes squinting momentarily as the light of the moon overtakes my vision. Outside, it looks beautiful, definitely. It's beautiful. I suck in a small gasp as I climb out onto the overlook, the full breadth of the view hitting me all at once. The cave is built into the side of a cliff, and from the overlook, one can look out across the lower level of forest beyond. The dark dunes of the treetops spreading out for miles in both directions before hitting the surface of the lake. Above our heads, the sky opens up, elephantine expanse of stars and galaxies gazing back down at us, and the moon at its center, huge and milky and white, glows like a firefly ready to be plucked from all that blue and gaze at between softly parted fingers. Gidget must hear my stifled breath because they turn with a start, eyes widening briefly before flicking away. Sorry, were you looking for me? I was going to come right back in. I shake my head. No, it's, I saw you out here, and so I thought... Our voices fall. Silence staining the dirt beneath our feet. Then finally, do you, want to come sit? Sure. Gidget scoots over atop the boulder they'd been using as a perch, making room for me to join, and I take a seat next to them, putting my knees in against my chest. Both of us stare out across the landscape, the moon coloring our faces. Just needed some fresh air is all, Gidget says, their voice soft. It's really beautiful. Yeah. A pause. You doing okay? I mean, with your shoulder and all. Still aches a bit, but it's better at least. I see. There's a little bit of guilt in Gidget's eyes. Gidget brings their hands together, and I see them shifting their thumbs against each other. First right over left, then left over right. Sorry, they finally say. Sorry for what? I mean, it's my fault after all. Eh? I scratch at my head sheepishly, not really sure I consider most of what people do down here their fault. but this doesn't seem to help matters much. In fact, Gidget's face seems to grow even more dull. Their gaze drops to their hands, their eyes strained. What? Their lips part, then close, then part again. I did a lot of really awful things to you. I just look at them for a moment, eyes wide, then turn away. I don't even remember all of it. This place, it warps you to the point that you start to lose yourself, lose who you are. They lean forward, resting their elbows on their knees. Everything's like a jumbled up kaleidoscope in my mind. I try to bring a memory into focus, but it just twists into something new. I remain silent, just staring out across the darkened treetops. But that doesn't change what I did, what you had to go through because of me. I remember the rage. God, I remember the rage and the resentment, the jealousy, They bring a hand to their forehead, jaw clenched. The entitlement. The expectations. I see their fingers shaking. In the beginning it wasn't as bad, but it kept growing. And even though part of me knew it was wrong, I couldn't stop it. Like this thing growing inside of me, whispering in my head, blowing my thoughts. We all have that. I rest my cheek on my knee. After all, none of us are free of sin. Fingers clasped around my ankles. My own chest feels heavy, conflicting thoughts battling at the base of my consciousness. I couldn't stop, Iggy. They turn towards me for the first time, and I see the glimmer of tears on their eyes. And the things I said to you, the things I did to you. They turn away with a grimace, wiping at the belligerent water. I wanted so badly to be what you wanted, but I lost myself in the process. Silence again. Silence save the occasional murmur of clang of dishware from back inside the cave. I bite... Oh, for goodness sakes. I bite at the inside of my cheek, gaze dropping to Gidget's feet. I don't want you to be anything. I pause. I just want you to be you. Then I have to smirk at myself. As laughable as that sounds considering everything I've said over the years. My voice grows small. So small out among all of the black. I'm sorry too. I feel Gidget shift next to me, their shoulder brushing against mine. I guess we could both use a chance to try again, huh? Yeah. I smile in spite of myself. Then turn my gaze back to the sky, watching as the stars swirl around us. It's quiet for a good long time this time. I lean into the breeze as it laps at my cheeks, plays with my hair, and for a moment, we're back in high school. The two of us sitting on the steps outside the computer lab after another long afternoon of hacking at our projects, watching as the sun sets, revealing the moon and stars overhead. We'd spent so much time in that lab, just the two of us. Gidget finally steers. I see them playing with a string on the helm of their pants. I know I still have a lot of my own shtick to work through. A pause. Sheesh, I've got to figure out for myself. Stuff that I finally can figure out for myself. I turn to look at them, brows arched. But if you ever can, give me a second chance. Their voice grows soft, husky. I'd love to be your prince. My cheeks grow instantly warm, and I jerk my head away, lips pressed tight. By your rules this time. Their voice cracks. It might take me some time to get used to, but now it's their turn to blush. I never want to hurt you again, so I don't really know what to say, how to respond. There's a warmth inside of me, spreading out across my chest. This time, unlike the others, this time is genuine, shooting into my arms and fingers, and my brain. The part of my brain capable of forming words, it seemed to have stopped working. So instead I just clasp my hands together over my knees with a little breathy oh, and stare at the reflection of the moon on the lake until it sears my eyes. Gidget coughs, rubs at their mouth. Anyway, you don't have to give me an answer now. A pause. Or ever. Damn. That's really guilty of you saying that towards us, like feeling that we don't ever give you an answer. But I hope you'll at least let me protect you. A third pause. This one long and pronounced. I owe you that much. Maybe. Say something encouraging. Take their hand. My head is still a whirl. A whirl with a whole smorgasbord of feelings, to be honest. Some that make me warm. Some that make me cold. And some that twist my insides into teeny tiny little knots that will probably take weeks to iron out. But one feeling stands out above the others. A feeling of closeness with Gidget. And even though there's still plenty about them that makes me uneasy. About what happened that makes me uneasy. That connection between us remains. And will always remain tethered. I want to be there for them. And maybe I want them to be there for me. This thought alone keeps the pink flowing through my cheeks as I glance up at them. Their silhouette striking against the starlit backdrop. Striking and handsome. I drop my gaze, then reach over, hesitantly, shyly almost, and curl my fingers around their knuckles. I'd like that very much. At this, our eyes meet, for just a moment. Just enough time for Gidget's brows to arc and their eyes to soften and their lip to tremble ever so slightly. And for me, just uncomfortable enough that I have to break the gaze and turn away with a dorky grin, fire still lapping at my cheeks. We sit there for a short while longer, just staring out across the vista of trees and stars and memories, until Gidget starts pestering me about staying warm and how I need to rest my shoulder, and the two of us wander back inside. I can still feel the warmth of their hand against my palm as I settle into my bed. Sleep coating my eyes. Ah, the waterworks. Stick by Gidget. I'm both shaken and shaky, and the pain in my wrist has turned into a dull throb that travels up the entire length of my arm. Genzu helps me gently onto the lap of the basin. I sit there quietly for a moment, gaze flickering hesitantly between my arm and the water. I must look slightly bewildered though, because Gidget steps towards me, not knitted in concern. You, need some help? And while I don't answer in words, the semi-pleading look I shoot them is apparently enough, because they sit down beside me, careful as they help me wash the blood off my arm. They finish up by tearing a piece of fabric from the bottom of my shirt and using it to wrap the wound. It's better than nothing. Not the most effective bandage in the world, but certainly better than nothing. Once that's taken care of, they give my shoulder a reassuring squeeze, and I unconsciously let myself lean against them just a bit. The warmth of their skin is comforting in the dank sewer. So we're here, and things are different this time around. So the factor that also plays into account with Orum is if you want to keep him alive, or the fact that we're not going to kill him when you're talking to Jerry and all those choices about like, no, we're not killing Orum. No, we're not killing Orum. No, we're not killing Orum. Those sort of things. Yeah, they matter if you want Orum route. Go talk to Gidget. This option will determine your final ending. Are you sure you want to talk to Gidget? Yes, I do. I push myself to my feet with a little wobble. Blanket wrapped tight around my arms. Then start for the door. It feels strange, like walking through the veil of a dream. Not comprehending everything I'm doing, yet feeling more control than I ever have in my life. Where are you going? Orum rolls over to blink me curiously from the bed. And my fate, I suddenly feel as though I'm being judged. Just need to clear my head. Suit yourself. I see him roll back over to face the wall in the naughty corner. He looks incredibly small, all curled up on the bed like that. I chew on the inside of my lip this time, just standing there for a moment. Then push the door open and step outside. Where is Gidget? Where is Gidget? All wet outside. Oh, this is new scenery. While no longer actively raining, a residual sense of moisture continues to cling to anything it can latch onto. The grass, the dirt, the leaves in the tree. Even the very air itself, cool and crispy and heavy as it brushes against my cheeks and nose. I pull the blanket tighter across my shoulders, still shivering. I spy Genzu seated on a log not far from the cabin, calmly hunkered over and clean his bloody stump of a finger. I wince, feeling a tendril of guilt curl its way around the base of my brain, but ultimately point my gaze downward and start towards the right. I hope he doesn't see me. Getting questioned by Orum was bad enough. I'm not sure I could take Genzu's puppy dog eyes asking what I'm doing. Fortunately, I appear to succeed in my clandestine endeavors because I make it around the side of a cabin without hitch. I let my shoulders fall just a bit, slowing to a meandering pace as I finish my roundabout jaunt. The area behind the cabin is dark and cool. There's a small hill of chopped wood piled up against the back of the cabin, and a chopping block just a few paces away. My mind flickers momentarily back to the first time I'd seen bucks at that block. But I fight the memory. Yeah, bad memories. There'll be plenty of times to worry about bucks. There'll be plenty of times to worry about bucks later. Bucks might not even be themselves. Okay, that's foreshadowing. Right now, I only have one thing on my mind. As if on cue, I spot Gidget's unmistakably cropped blonde hair over by the threshold of trees. They're just standing there, motionless as they stare off into the darkness, almost like some kind of portentous statue prophesying the events to come. You will die, young ones. I suddenly feel a bit out of place. My hunkered shoulders, the blanket clutched around my frame, my aura of frailty. I feel so small compared to Gidget's decisive profile, and I'm all at once unsure what to say, or if I even should speak. Fortunately, I'm not forced to flangle a flustered greeting because Gidget seems to sense my presence and turn their head. Their brows arc in surprise before curling downward, sheepish. Iggy, go back inside. You're going to catch cold. I'm fine, I mumble, despite the tremble of my fingers betraying my lie. Just wanted to make sure you were okay, is all. Gidget smiles at this. I'm okay. Just need some fresh air. Maybe. I don't know. Their gaze flicks back to the black void between the trees. I wait for them to continue. When they don't, I take a few steps forward, the wet grass leaving dark patterns on my shoes. Whether it's from the sight of all that blackness or the breeze slipping up my pant leg, a chill works its way up my spine and I instinctively pull the blanket in closer. Next to me, Gidget has started playing with her hands. It felt a bit stifling in there. I glance over. They're pulling at their fingers, anxious. First twisting and tugging at their left index finger, then mashing and kneading their knuckles, up, down. Iggy? I somehow taken aback to our chat in Gidget's car. Oh yeah, I do remember Gidget owns a car. The way they fidgeted uncomfortably before leaning up to kiss me. But this fiddling feels different. Less shy jitters and more. Iggy, I'm sorry. Then turns towards me with a hurried jerk, then hands to my shoulders. But not looking at me, staring down at the ground, staring through the ground. Gidget? I start, my voice getting swallowed up in my lungs. I can feel their fingers trembling around my shoulder blades. See the glimmer of tears as heavy pools grow beneath their eyes. Gidget. When they speak again next, their voice is strained, choked. Every second I'm in that cabin, all I can think about is what I almost did to you. Damn, I dropped my gaze. And all those other times, the pain I caused you. Gidget, we've gone through this before, haven't we? We've all done a lot of effed up stuff, you know, their throat catches. the horrible things I said to you. Their grips go so tight around my shoulders that it starts to hurt, and I place a hand over theirs with a small squeeze. Gidget. The pinch loosens, goes slack, and finally their arms fall down to their sides. Their gaze still points at the ground. I don't know how you could ever forgive me. They feel so guilty about themselves. And it's like they're confused as to why we've given them forgiveness, but at the same time, it's like, surely they know why we've given them forgiveness. The tears are running rivulets down their cheeks now, their jaw clenched. How can I expect anyone to accept me for who I am? A sniff. They wipe at their nose. Don't you think at some point in our lives we've all done something we've truly regretted? But that is what helps us shape into the person that we are today. Because of our positives, because of our negatives, because of our ups and downs, our regrets, our triumphants. Life is not a smooth road, but life is not entirely a landmine as well either. If I can't accept you for who you are... Gidget, it was this place, I start. That doesn't take back what I did. They cut me off with a snap. Then softer. That doesn't take back how I hurt you. I don't know what to say to this, so I say nothing. Just staring at the wet grass. Oh, gosh, game, now you're giving me tears. Gidget starts slapping their hand against their forehead with a frustrated groan. Gidget, what if... They buck forward and I instinctively put my arms out to catch them, but my strength is enough to keep them aloft. And when they go limp, their knees buckling beneath them, they slide down to the ground, body heavy against mine. They wrap their arms around my legs, face pressed somewhere near my belly as their shoulders heave. What if this place reveals our true selves? Yep, that's exactly what it's doing. I can barely hear them, their voice muffled by the fabric of my shirt. But then they turn their head, taking a gasping breath of air through their tears. What if I would have done that eventually for real? Up there. I'm not sure what to say at first. Well, I think I said this in one of my previous videos, is that this place really truly brings out the worst aspects out of you and just times it by 1,000, not 1,000%, but just 1,000, which is a huge amount more. It's plucking at your weaknesses and making those weaknesses a huge amount more. So I simply bring my hand to the back of their head, feel them trembling against me. What if that's who I really am? That's BS! It comes out before I even register it, and I blink. The force of the word surprises even me. I feel Gidget's head shift slightly as they turn their bleary gaze upwards. That's BS. I say again, a bit quieter but with more conviction. Is it though? Gidget asks after a moment, hesitant. There might be a lot I don't know about you. There might be a lot you don't even know about yourself. And heck, there might be a lot that you don't know about me. But that's also vice versa as well. But if there's one thing I do know, is that you're one of the kindest, sweetest person I've ever known. And that's a fact. Gidget doesn't respond this time, just kneeling there. I hear them sniff, their breath shuddering. Besides, I say slyly, you don't really think Orum would have started secretly boiling people alive in his basement, do you? Gidget laughs at this, a throaty, crackly chuckle that makes their shoulders quake. Maybe not. Though he did always have some strange tastes. I sigh. Then kneel down myself, bringing my arms around Gidget's shoulders and pressing my face into the top of their head. Ah. Their hair is soft against my cheeks. Look, this place twisted all of us. I've gotten stuff I need to work through too. The pain that I've caused. The pain that I've caused you. I feel Gidget press into me. Their breath is still shaky. But that's not who you are. A pause. Only you can decide who you are. Not this place, not your mum, not anyone else. I've been recording for 4 hours and 20 minutes, by the way. I give him another squeeze. And definitely not me. My own eyes burn just a bit as these words pass my lips. An atonement of my own. For so many words said thoughtlessly, the two of us grow quiet, just holding each other, kneeling there in the wet grass as we let the weight of our own sins against each other gather, then spill out onto our feet. Gidget is the first to speak. I hear them sniff, their throats still choked with phlegm, though their voices now tinted in jest. So philosophical. I have my moments. I'll print that out and hang it up to my live, laugh, love poster. You fudging. I give a start at this, which throws off my balance. And we both tip to the side, falling onto the grass with a cushy thump, our lips still tangled. Gidget laughs. It's the first real laugh of theirs I've heard in I don't know how long, to be honest. The sound of it reminds me of orange soda. Yeah, that was much needed. Just some stuff and giggles. Then they turn, shifting onto their back so they can look up at the stars. I follow suit. The heavens expanding in front of us like the world's largest painting. Despite the chills seeping into my back, I don't feel cold. Quite the opposite, in fact. A strange residue of warmth seems to be building up in my chest. A comfortable, homey sort of warmth. I feel like I have so much to make up for, Gidget finally muses, their gaze still pointed skyward, and the same here. Everything I've done, everything I've worked for, has all that for a life that isn't my own. I'm quiet for a moment, thinking. I get that. Makes me wish I could have figured all this stuff out sooner, you know? All those wasted years. Don't you feel like that there are times in your life that you wish you'd done something else? Or you wanted to do something else, but you didn't quite have enough confidence or aspirations in going into it? Well, right now, is the best time ever to start with those aspirations in which you keep holding off. How come the younger generations are all able to work this stuff out in their teens? The internet, I guess. I see them curl their hand into a fist, pulling at the grass. Nobody talked about this kind of stuff. If you were different, it was just a phase, a quirk, something you grow out of. There was nowhere we could go to untangle all those weird thoughts floating around our heads. No safe spaces to ask questions, role models to look up to. Well, with that first part, there is a place called Our Wonderland floating around our heads, and those are all what we call spots in which we have physically magnified. I don't disagree, but I'm also not sure what to add. So I'll stay silent, wait for them to continue. I was opening my window, by the way, because there was getting muggy in my room. This is going to sound stupid and ridiculous, but like sometimes I actually feel jealous of Genzu, you know. I'm not trying to make it sound like he had it easy or anything, don't get me wrong. I think it's because Genzu tries to put up that facade easier because it makes people feel like that he's in a more comfortable position, or the fact he wants to make others feel like they're in a more comfortable position. But at least he had a very physical sign telling him what was up with him. What was up? I bite back a snicker. Icky, you! Gidget wraps me around the shoulder with a laugh, then groans in frustration, hands to her forehead and clenching at the bangs. Like, yeah, you went through a lot of shtick, too. But at least you knew who he was. Every time I took a step forwards figuring myself out, I'd get pushed back too. This constant battle. I drop my gaze at this, hands clasping across my chest. And for all of this, Gidget, in which you are going through, just know that there are so many others out there like you who are going through their own similar battles. I don't even want to think about how many steps I'd push them back. This thought makes the guilt gathered in my belly twist in discomfort. Even now, I don't know if I know, you know? It feels right. I feel right. But like, I can hear the tremor of their voice, the uncertainty. I just feel like I've been wearing a mask my whole life. And it's been so long that even now that I've taken it off, I don't know what's underneath. Sometimes when you have put a mask on for so long, you forget what you looked like before the mask was put on. Something in Gidget's words make my own brain tingle. I don't know why. Like something hitting too close to home. Though not in the same way. Nothing to do with gender. Nothing to do with sexuality. But a secret third theme that even I don't understand. A mask. The mask. The mask I've been wearing a long time. It's a very... I don't know what... It's a very individual thing. I wouldn't like to say that it's like its own... subject or its own area of something in which everyone has a shared concept with. But it's something in which, in its own right, we do have a kind of feeling that maybe we are something else in which we have been given a biological, entrance into life. But our thoughts, our feelings, regardless of male, female, however you want to identify yourself as, you should not be anchored by your birth, really. You should always be conscious about those around you, but at the same time be conscious about yourself. So that I could fit in. The Gidget continues before I could dig in too deep. I guess I don't want to waste any more time is all. Not when I've already wasted so much. I purse my lips, brows furrowing. I don't think it's all been a waste though. Has it? Just a different path. Gidget responds with a non-commutal hum. Would you have done things differently if you figured things out sooner? Yes, but... I squint my eyes against the stars. But then again, it's different depending on person to person. Not sure. But it's a bit different, maybe. Maybe. I let my thoughts bounce for a few more moments before attempting to translate them into words. Though perhaps I'd have been less scared. Scared? Because, like, I always just avoided people. Whenever they get too close, I'd run away, without knowing why. Gidget is silent next to me, but maybe if I knew why, I'd have been more confident in making my own needs known, my own boundaries, felt less alone. Less different from everyone else? Yeah, I guess. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. And we're also all chewing on the inside of our cheeks again. I lace my hands across my belly, chewing on the inside of my cheek. Then again, maybe I would have just been even more of an anxiety-ridden wreck. I say with a small laugh. Gidget's laughter joins mine as the warmth of our shared insecurity settles us over. Then the quiet returns. Nothing but the far-off song of cicadas to accompany our reflection. I think I would have done things differently, Gidget says softly. I glance in their direction but say nothing. Their profile stands stark against the black backdrop of trees strewn a lot differently. Something about the way they say this gives me pause, and I turn my eyes back towards the sky. It's both limitless and suffocating at the same time. Claustrophobia, but yet feeling like you're in space. There's still time. We aren't that old. Even if I feel like ancient dust compared to these days, same here. Yeah, we aren't. Of course, that means we need to get out of here alive, which isn't exactly guaranteed at this point. Oh, but it is, but it doesn't come without some prices to pay. Gidget laughs, a tired laugh, but an accepting one. Yeah, that's true. Ah, we're gazing there. I turn to see them smiling. You know what, that's a lovely sight right there. Just two friends hang out with each other, stargazing. Even though we are beneath a tree. Without really thinking about it, I reach over to find their hand. My fingers lacing between theirs, interlocked atop the wet grass. If we do, though, I hope we can do things differently together. Oh, no, not again. The tears welling up. Gidget turns to look at me, and I can see tears bristling once again on their eyes. They give my hand a squeeze. A connection in the void. A shared understanding. Ah. A single point of warmth warding off the chill. My warmth. I'd like that very much. A sharing, bonding experience. We lie out there a bit longer. Until the tendrils of sleep start to claim me, my eyes fluttering closed, my words devolved into blurring murmurs. Gidget must notice because I hear them chuckle even through my dream-weary state. Feel them pull me in close. You idiot, you're gonna get sick. But I'm tired. Come here. They pull a blanket more snugly across my frame, arms snaking around my wrist. Then simply hold me in against their chests. Ah, warm. A warm cocoon. Silent and still beneath the stars. Yes, this feels right. Even if we don't have all the answers, we have a path forward. Even if we still have more we need to talk through, at least we can be there for each other, provide each other warmth. In that moment before I fall asleep, my worries vanish. No matter what tomorrow may bring, no matter what fate may have stored for us, we have each other. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes you don't want everything, but enough. I feel Gidget's chin rest against the top of my head as they curl against me. Thank you, Iggy. And then I am asleep. Asleep on the wet grass? I can use the wet grass as a goddamn pillow and all this. I feel like Orum's not going to care, and Genzu is going to somewhat be concerned. Ed. They're not dead. Look at them, cold and lifeless on the ground. The cruel cogs of fate having stolen their lives with naught but the finale remaining. Would you stop blanking talking like that? I swear to God I'm 1 second away from maiming you. I'm awoken the next morning to the feeling of a foot against my ribs. The foot taps gently against my skin once, twice, then jouted right in my appendix. Oh great, we're back in these forests! Back in the forest where Genzu swam us out from the ganky waters. I let out a pained yelp and twist back. What the hell? Oh, still animated, tragic. Orum muses and steps back, his arms curled languidly across his chest. Eggs! Genzu steps forward into my view, brows knotted into concern. Christ on a cracker, why the hell didn't you two come in last night? I bring a hand to my forehead, side still aching, as I attempt to jumpstart my mind into gear and deduce what happened. Gidget and I drop my gaze. There they are, still curled up next to me, just as I remembered. Then we really did fall asleep out here, which would certainly explain why my every muscle feels stiff enough to lay a caricature on, or charcuterie on, and also why a deep-seated chill has seeped its way so deep into my bones that my teeth won't stop chattering against each other. Great. I'm pushing to myself all the way up to a seat and running a hand through my damp hair. So much for trying to rest up before the big climax. Or whatever it is that awaits us on the other side of a door. Gidget, wake up! I say with a beleaguered sigh as I give them a little shake. They shift, groan, then let out a big yawn as they roll over onto their back, only to immediately snap open their eyes. Fudge, that's cold. You're telling me? I rub goosebumps running up and down on my arms. Probably not the best idea that we've had. Fudge, Gidget says again, popping up a seat. 2 fudges in a row. They must be really uncomfortable. We require sustenance. Autumn, don't you know how to cook from all the rabbits that have given you dinner? Surely you have some semblance on how to prepare a meal. Autumn stares down at us blankly, to which Gidget responds with an angry splay of her hands. What do we look like? Your goddamn parents? Go make something. They rub at their growing knot on their forehead. Autumn raised his gaze towards the sky, almost disinterested. I don't know how to work the stove. Fudge, fudging fudge. I can practically hear Gidget's teeth clacking between each expletive. Expletive. Genzu slaps Autumn's shoulder with an angry huff. Stop being a saggy sack of dunks and help them inside, sheesh for brains. He starts forward towards me, and just for a second our eyes meet. I see him pause, jaw taut as his brows go rigid. And in that instant, Autumn steps between us, grabbing my hands before Genzu has a chance. Everyone's so moody in the morning, and that goes for you as well, Autumn. Genzu quickly snaps out of his stupor and offers his hand to Gidget instead, who takes it and stumbles to their feet with a wobble. When our eyes meet for a second time, he quickly averts his gaze. He looks sad? A kind of defeated heaviness to his aura. But he quickly covers up with a wide grin. Pretty sure I saw some porridge in there when I was scrounging around this morning. Maybe we can rustle ourselves up some grub, eh? Am I right or am I right? A hot meal does sound divine right about now. Gidget has attempted to brush the errated bits of grass and dust from their clothes. Maybe between the 4 of us we can make heads or tails of that stove. Too many cooks. More like, but clearly my opinion is held in low regard. Whatever opinion you had to begin with. We start back around towards the other side of the cabin, our feet leaving valleys in the wet grass, but before I round the corner I feel a grip of my wrist. Is it Gidget's? And I glance back to see Gidget's face fouled in concern. You okay? They ask softly. You already look like you're liable to keel over at a moment's notice. Their gaze flicks downward. I shouldn't have kept you out. I just smile in return, the warmth from the night prior still flushes on my cheeks. It's fine. A little hot food and I'll warm right up. Gidget smiles at this, a small blush dancing in their own cheeks. Then the 2 of us walk inside to have our breakfast. I'm hoping it's going to be smoother than the other transitions we had the other times around. Well, I hope that within the Genzu portion of this video, we're going to be more indoors. Gidget looks back at me, lips coloured into a smile. Iggy, let's go! They start to move towards the trees. Just a second! I step forward, hands raised. Then we both just stand there, looking at each other. I feel like I have something really important to say, but I just can't. Remember. Gidget, I swallow. My gaze drops, and I can feel myself start to tremble. Don't worry, Iggy. Huh? I blink back to the water forming once more in my eyes. Don't worry about what? Gidget just smiles. Everything's going to be fine. I promise. I blink, then smile. Smile as 1,000 memories. Moments of heartbreak, joy, being domed. A love so strong that makes my heart bloody ache. All pass through my thoughts in an instant, forcing the tears back down my cheeks. I chuckle sheepishly and wipe at my eyes. Well, when you put it that way, then I take their hand. And we go running after the others, leaving the forest and our Wonderland behind. Forever and ever and ever, we've got one more trip this way. And as for me, well, Gidget and I joined the Team Hackathon spring of senior year. We somehow rose above the competition to take first place. Hey, that's the dream team right there. And at after prom, we made ourselves a promise that both of us would make it through Springwood's software development program, and maybe do better than the others in the process. Of course we do, because we're a dream team. Come college, we both got to work doing just that. Though I did start to notice some changes in Gidget. While I stayed hunkered down in my dorm room coding or playing games, Gidget was getting out there and making friends, joining groups on campus. They even started dabbling in some art classes. Eventually decided to tack a graphic design major on onto their degree. Me and my words. Then it gives me nearly 5 hours of talking. Little by little, they started dragging me along with them too. First to the occasional LGBTQIA+ club meeting, then to the off and on volunteer work with Campus Pride. It was through these meetings and the many new people I met that I started figuring a lot of stuff out about myself too. And I came out to them as asexual our junior year. This didn't surprise them. It was through these organizations that Gidget met Sissel, in exchange from a student from the UK. Somehow they became fast friends and the three of us formed a little trio, even though Sissel just wants to kill me. Me, the awkward introvert, Sissel, the grumpy stooge, and Gidget, our cheery leader. And occasionally Orum, because why not Orum? Why not Orum? After graduating, the three of us found a place together. Rent's not too bad when you can split it 3 ways after all. Exactly. Gidget found work as a junior designer at a local non-profit while I began working freelance. And Sissel does what Sissel... Ooh! Lovely! Ah, oh, bless them. It wasn't until Gidget's promotion to senior designer, when they came home buzzed and ecstatic, that they kissed me for the first time. It felt natural. But you look surprised, like it had only been a matter of time. Then they kissed themselves, so it was a bit... Well, it's not exactly a triangle. And all of He's always over, my god. The flushed face from Iggy. After that, we kind of just settled into life. Our life. A life that's occasionally chaotic, but always warm, always welcoming, always home. A life I've chosen for myself, and to no one else. I still get the occasional deja vu, the sudden flash of a memory, sometimes so brief and so intense it takes the wind out of me, other times long and drawn out, filling me with a sense of long-lost melancholy. My heart knows what I've been through. Even if my head forgets sometimes, the heart never, ever, ever forgets. Gidget remembers too. Sometimes we'll be hanging out and they'll randomly bring up a memory. Oh my god, Iggy, do you remember when... Whoa, didn't that just take you back? Oh god, this is just like... And I always have to pause a moment, let the memory fizzle to the surface. Find it there buried deep within its synapses. But I always do. And then I smile. Yeah. Even though it doesn't make a lick of sense. And then the two of us will go about our day. As each other. As one another. And that, folks, is the end. We're number 1. We're number 1. So, with Just Being Us, we have the Sadie doll. With Orum, we have the plush rabbit. And now with Gidget, we have the #1 cup. Wonder what item Genzu is going to bring about to the ending screen. Shifted over to the left. To the left, we have Gidget and Iggy. Our final time going through our Wonderland. Question mark will be upon the one and only Genzu. Am I right or am I right? We don't know. Think about Genzu. My thoughts jump instinctively to Genzu. Of the moments we shared, of the feelings of safety he provided. I do feel safe around him, like nothing could ever touch me. A place of acceptance, where only the two of us matter. Of love? Maybe. The feeling of his arms around me, my head against his chest, I feel... God, I don't know. It's all so confusing. Talk to Genzu. I paused for a moment, watching the Iggies preparing their blankets. Then want to pass them to the far wall. Genzu glances up at my approach, his eyes tired but worried. He looks quite small, all hunkered down on the bottom bunk. And I duck slightly to dip my head beneath the slats on the bed on top. Do I need some sort of password to get in? Genzu blinks. And thus, it does have that vibe, doesn't it? Very secret Fortesque. All you need is a do not enter sign hanging from the top. Only pause for a moment before ducking the rest of the way and crawling up onto the bed. Then tug my blanket tighter across my shoulders and lean back against the cave wall next to him. Cozy in here. We sit for a few moments in silence, gazing out at the Iggies and their nighttime preparation rituals. I can't help but laugh to myself as I watch one of the Iggies on the end lie down, get up, and lie down, and again and again. This is uncomfortable. Genzu turns his gaze to me, brows furrowing. How you holding up? I'm okay. A bit sore, but they repatched me up and everything. So at least I'm not bleeding everywhere anymore. Genzu grunts, turns back. I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about how you're feeling. His eyes look darker than usual. His face soft and dough. How are you holding up? I ask softly. He blinks. What's that supposed to mean? I take a moment to find my words, careful as they roll across my tongue. We're going to the castle tomorrow. Oops, sorry for knocking my microphone there. A pause. I imagine that thoughts can't be comforting after everything. Another grunt from Genzu. But I can't tell if that's a grunt or affirmation or a grunt telling me to shut up. I just want to get that blanket and get out of here. I let my gaze fall to my knees. I can feel the questioning buzzing between my lips. Knowing it's there makes my heart start to thrum. Nervous pains twist my gut. I'm not sure if I can get it out. About you and Orum? Or do we not say anything? About you and Orum, my lips part, which just makes my heart pound even faster. My face feels like it's burning, heart clenching. Not all of us have a heart, but I push through it all the same. About you and Orum? God, I said it. I wince, lick my lips, glance over at him. His face remains unchanged. I continue. What happened between you? He doesn't look at me, just keeps staring off, out into the cave. But I see his brows twitch, his jaws clench ever so slightly. Finally he brings a hand up, rubbing at his eyes. Something that shouldn't have. I pull my knees in against my chest, staring down at the pattern of the blanket beneath us. I know that. After what happened with you and me. I bite down on my lip, searching for words. After the accident, I mean. Genzu bites down on his knuckle, looking away. He helped you. Yeah? Silence. At school? More silence. Because you... Yeah, we got pretty close. I stop. Blink. Genzu's teeth have practically gone through the skin of his knuckles by this point, and I see the glimmer of tears in the corners of his eyes. He doesn't say anything else for a moment. Then, I let him get too close. His brows furrow further, to the point where I can barely see his eyes. And then his voice catches. Took advantage of that. I don't say anything at first, just listening to the sound of my breath, the sound of my heart. I don't know what to think. It's not like some part of me didn't know, but I chew on the inside of my cheek as one does, thinking about them. I don't know how it makes me feel. Strange? In a way I can't quite explain. Is it because I feel bad about what happened? About the way Genzu treated Orum? Yes, but also something else. A weird twist in my gut that I've never felt before. A longing. Hurt. I bury my face into my knees, the fabric of my pants rough against my lips. My breath leaves a warm, wet spot against my skin. Finally. He really did like you, huh? Yeah. Silence. And I knew it too. I see Genzu's lip trembling. I'm not a good person, X. You are to us, Genzu. He winces. Then begins rifling through his pockets, desperately almost. Fudge pulls out his cigarettes. Fudge, 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 places one to his lips. Soon the smoke is drifting around our heads, catching beneath the top bunk like a darkened rain cloud. I watch the tip of the cigarette bounce up and down between his teeth, unsure if he'll continue. After a few good long drags, he does. I hurt people and I don't care. I'm a miserable a-hole who wants to make everyone around him miserable too. A pause. I see his fingers shaking, his eyes straining. I do try. I try to be better. He sniffs, coughs. But then my mouth will just run away again. Brings his free hand up. I just can't bloody stop it. Pounds his palm against his chin this time with his words. I grimace as I watch, shiver despite the blanket around my shoulders. Genzu sighs, and I see him tap a hunk of ash over onto the side of the bed. When have I ever brought anything positive into anyone's life, huh? He grunts, takes a long drag, and I watch the smoke billow out across his lips. I'm quiet at first, not saying anything. Just sitting there, fingers running over the gaze on my shoulder, gaze, patterned rough against my skin. Then the words slip out, barely more than a whisper. You were the only one. Huh? Gaze glances in my direction for the first time since I sat down. I press my lips together, swallow, then say a little louder. You were the only one. Only one what? Who accepted me. Genzu just looks at me, cigarette hanging from his lips. For who I am. No questions asked. I feel water rise to my eyes, but I blink it back. My eyes, my cheeks, my entire face warm to the touch. The only one who never made me feel guilty. Less loved. Like something was wrong with me. A tiny tear manages to make it past my emotional barrier, wind its way down to my cheek. I brush it away quickly, hoping Genzu hasn't seen it. Enough, though it was probably hard for you. Since I figured you must have. This seems to rouse Genzu from his self-deprecating slump just a bit because he pushed himself up against the wall. Brows furrowing with their usual snap as he grabs a cigarette between his fingers. Must have what? But I can't respond, can't say it. I try, but all that comes out is a strange little squeak as I flap my hands in frustration. Genzu blinks, but it seems to register. Fudge that noise, he balks. Doesn't matter how many times I've gotten off thinking about you, that's a hold a candle to how important you are to me. And just being with you and getting to hold you and his words slow as both of us just look at each other, cheeks an identical shade of crimson. Then he seems to realize what he's saying. He turns away with a jerk and shoves a cigarette back in his mouth. And I stare down at my knees, face feeling very warm. I cough into my fist, adjust my glasses now mildly foggy. Anyway, you made me really happy, I guess. So, in spite of everything, I just wanted to thank you. Genzu wiggles the cigarette with a smirk. Yeah, just don't get out though, yeah? All the asexuals be all over me. Come and get your piping not respect of sexual boundaries or something. The suddenness of this brings a croaking laugh up my throat so fast I nearly choke. I lean forward as a stifled half snort makes its way out of my nose. The tears I've been trying to hold back squeezing out beneath my eyelids. Genzu's face softens, a tiny smile playing on his lips. He taps the ash off his cigarette again before settling back against the wall. I glance over at him. Rest your head on his shoulder. Let's think about him right now. Leaning back against the wall, smoke drifting up over his head. And maybe it's this cave. Maybe it's the intense battle we went through earlier. Or the rabbits. Or the food. Or the drink. Or the delusion of emotions I've just experienced in the last 5 minutes. But all of a sudden I just really want to be close to him. And I don't know how to comfort him with my words. How to pay him back for what he did to me back on the kiddie cruise. My brain doesn't quite work that way, maybe. So without saying anything, I shift back a little bit, pull my blanket in against my shoulders and... lean over towards him. His shoulders is soft against my cheek, warm, and I feel him stiffen just slightly beneath me. You tired, Iggs? His voice cracks, then a sudden huskiness to it. Guess you've had a pretty long day. A pause. We all have. It grows silent. Nothing but the sound of his breath next to me, the feeling of his chest moving up and down. Just him and me in our tiny little alcove in a cave beneath the ground. There's something incredibly warm about that thought. Safe. And for the first time all day, I feel the residue tension in my body begin to recede. My eyes flutter closed, then back open, then closed again. So warm. My own little cocoon. Our own little cocoon. This thought brings a flutter to my chest. You falling asleep there, Iggs? I feel Genzu's chest thrum beneath me at the words. It reverberates up through my cheek and jaw, a comforting buzz. I hadn't even realized how tired I am. Everything that happened today finally catching up to me, I guess. I can feel my breath slowing, my body growing heavy, lulled deeper still by the rise and fall of Genzu's chest. Something brushes against the top of my head, a warm weight, Genzu's cheek pressing against my hair. I can feel myself fading, the last tendrils of my consciousness starting to drift away. Particular breath as Genzu's lips move, forming words barely audible against my scalp. I love you, Iggs, but I'm already asleep. I didn't hear that. I need to hear that when I'm more conscious. Stick by Genzu. In the waterworks, I'm both shaking and shaky, and the pain in my wrist has turned into a dull throb that travels up my entire length of my arm. Genzu helps me gently onto the lip of the basin, then starts to move away until I curl my fingers into the fabric of his jacket. I see his eyes widen at first, then soften. He sits down beside me, fingers warm as he helps me to wash the blood off my arm, Gentle as he tears off a hunk of fabric from my shirt to wrap in it. It won't do a lot of good. The wound is too deep and the blood yet congealed, but it will keep me from bleeding all over everything at least. Genzu's brows furrow as he looks at it, his eyes darken with concern. Once he's finished, I take a moment to close my eyes, bask in the quiet darkness. And when Genzu puts a hesitant arm around my waist, I don't pull away. It's a comforting touch, one that stills the tremble on my lips and the flutter in my heart. Right, something's gone wrong here. Why is the affection for Genzu too low? Did I not take the correct choices? What about this? At the very beginning, before we go into our Wonderland. Just feed him if you have to. I'm not letting him willow away his misery without something in his stomach. He needs to eat. If that means caring for him like a sick patient, then so be it. With a little sigh of exasperation, I grab a bowl back from his lap, careful not to let it spill. Then raise a small spoonful to his lips. Open! Nothing. He just sits there like a bump on a log, gaze vacant. Genzu, please! And then a beat later, for me, I see Genzu blink, his eyes flickering upwards with a little twitch. Finally, he gives a little grunt, his mouth opening a fraction of an inch. Thank you. I laid it in carefully, watch him slow shit around in his mouth. Swallow. He doesn't even bother pretending to look in my direction. His face is grey and sallow, his hair a frazzled mess, and already boulder-sized bags are forming beneath his eyes. I raise another spoonful. It takes less prodding this time, his mouth cracking open the second the metal touches his lips. There you go. I wipe up the drabble that makes its way down his chin. You, called me earlier? I don't really know why I ask it. To make conversation, perhaps? But I don't expect him to answer, and he doesn't. Just grunts. I bring another spoonful of soup to his mouth. I was in a pretty bad way too this morning. A pause as he sips it up. A little, down about the mouth, as my dad would say. I laugh to myself. Genzu doesn't return the settlement. I grimace and return my gaze to the soup. He's always said weird things, though. Another spoonful. He slurps it loudly this time. Anyway, I'm sorry for everything. But I missed your call. My fingers tighten around the handle of the spoon, in sync with a knot in my gut. I wasn't there for him. I've never been there for him. I've never been there for anyone. I let the conversation trail off into silence, focusing instead on the soup. Genzu just keeps staring at the far wall. Damn it, Genzu. Getting him from the couch to the bed proves easier than I expected. Is this the same? Yeah, it's the same, isn't it? Or a little bit different here. Get some rest, yeah? You'll feel better in the morning. A grunt of affirmation as he sinks into the mattress. I watch him for a moment, just lying there, covers to his chin. I shudder to think of the images plaguing his thoughts. Worse even than mine, no doubt. Thinking about it summons a wave of nausea in my belly, so I'll try to push it from my mind. I'll, be in the other room in case you need anything. I scratch up my head, then my calf, start to turn away. Oh, only to feel a tug on the hem of my shirt. I look back to see Genzu's finger hooked in the fabric. He's got his face half buried in the blanket's jaw tight. I stand there silently. He lies there silently. Then, finally, so quiet I almost don't hear. Stay? I swallow so loud it feels like it echoes off the walls. Squeeze my eyes shut. Open them again. About a gazillion flashes of memory shuffle across my mind like a deck of cards in Choose Your Trauma Pack. Of course, Genzu, I will stay. In the end, though, my heart wins out. The part of my heart that still warms at the thought of his arms around me. that aches in the intimate moment we once shared, despite it feeling like a lifetime ago. Sure, Gen. I'll stay. The words bring a tremble to my lips, and he smiles just a little bit. And I sit down cross-legged at the head of the bed, rear end sinking into the cushion of the mattress. His hand finds my ankle, fingers folding softly atop the fabric. Then his body curls inward, forehead pressed to the side of my thigh as his eyes flutter closed. I watch him for a moment in curious silence. My gaze flickers back and forth between the 2 points of contact, my mind focusing in on them. The tingling warmth of his touch provides. And when I let myself lean back against the headboard, my gaze going towards the ceiling, my lips curl unconsciously into a smile. I'll stay as long as you need me. What a friend Iggy is. There we go. It was the choices at the very beginning before even going into the Wonderland. You have to make it so that you allow Genzu to be able to have some soup rather than just leaving it to the side at the first moment of rejection. You need to show that you are caring for Genzu at that given moment, which is why if you don't get it right at the very beginning, when you go about Arc 5 and you need to get, if it loads up, this particular CG unlocked, you're not going to be able to get this to open up. So I'm not too sure if that's like the only requirement, or if that is one of the main requirements, or if it's a huge set of requirements. That's it. This option will determine your final ending. Oh yes. Are you sure you want to talk to Genzu? Absolutely. I push myself to my feet with a little wobble. Blanket wrapped tight around my arms, then start for the door. It feels strange, like walking through a veil of a dream. Not comprehending everything I'm doing, yet feeling more in control than I ever have in my life. Where are you going? You know where I'm going. Have we done this before? Go back in your naughty corner and think about what you've done, Orum. Orum rolls over to blink at me curiously from bed. Look at the door, my face, suddenly feeling bad I'm being judged. Just need to clear my head. Suit yourself. I see him roll back over to face the wall. He looks incredibly small all curled up on the bed like that. I chew on the inside of my jib, standing there for a moment, then push the door open and step outside. Where are you, Genzu? I have a few choice words in this wetness outside. While no longer actively raining, a residue sense of moisture continues to cling to anything it can latch onto. Grass, dirt, leaves in a tree, even the very air itself cool and crisp and heavy as it brushes against my cheeks and nose. I pull the blanket tighter around my shoulders, still shivering. Genzu's unmistakable even in the dim haze of early dawn. His cap, like always, acting as a beacon through the darkness. He's sitting on a downed log a short distance from the cabin. He looks like a paunchy frog, all bunched and hunched over. Cigarette smoking marbles in the air above his head as he attempts to clean a stump of a finger while water from a small bucket. He looks tired. I watch him for a moment, feeling a bit like a ghost in the night, then finally wander over. Hey. Genzu's shoulders jump, and he whips his head up so fast and he lost his cigarette. Oh, it's just you. I see him perhaps instinctively trying to hide his hat, forcing a laugh as he moves his cigarette to the other side of his mouth. You're gonna catch a cold, you goddamn twig. Go back inside. I couldn't sleep. Join the club. Pretty sure all four of us are so traumatized at this point we'll never sleep again. You're probably not wrong about that. I stand there a bit longer, not quite too sure what to do. Genzu looks a tad uncomfortable, shifting back as he grabs his cigarette to let out a long plume of smoke. He's still got his right hand tucked against his belly. I finally take a seat next to him, close enough that our shoulders touch. Let me see it. No, let me see it. Give me a goddamn break, Iggs. It's fine. It's not fine. And you pretending it is will only make it worse. Genzu mumbles an expletive breath beneath. His breath, but removes his hand from its hiding spot. He balances on his knees, curling his fingers in and out with a thinly veiled grimace. It doesn't hurt. You lost a finger. How the hell could it not hurt? Yeah, well, I need that one anyways. Who needs 5 fingers? It's actually 4 fingers and a thumb. Am I right or am I right? Just no. No, not this time, no. I'm not laughing this time. Instead, cradling his hand between mine so I can better observe the damage. It's a clean chop at least. I'll give Orum's knife skills that much. Yeah, it's not ragged or very difficult to to cover. It's just a clean slice, and it stopped bleeding. The blood has congealed into a thin layer of jelly across the stump, dark and clotted, and I can only barely see the white of the bone peeking out from the middle. But it's dirty, speckled with dirt and grime. Bits and pieces of grit lodged in the gooiness and drawing patterns across his fingers and hand. If you ever see like somebody have like a really horrific accident, like on TV or even worse in real life, you look at that, and then your hand or your whatever part of that body it's affected, and it's like, this part of my body now feels really weird from looking at that. My brow creases, and I hold my hand out for the cloth he'd been using. Give it. Genzu sighs, but does as he's told. I dip it in the water and begin softly wiping at the skin. I'm careful as I work, trying as hard as I can not to irritate the wound any more than necessary, though there's only so much I can do. And when I have to touch the stump directly to wipe away some of the ground in muck, I feel Genzu's body tense. He hisses, grumbles another expletive, takes a long drag of his cigarette. I wait for a sarcastic evaluation of my efforts, but none comes. So I keep up my ministrations in silence. Genzu's hand is wide and rough between mine as I work. So different from my own. Where my fingers are long and bony, his are short and thick. Where mine are pasty and smooth, his are warm and cold-hued. I let my thumbs trace somewhat instinctively across his palm as I wipe at the streaks of dirt and caked-on blood. A strange sense of sadness tugs at my heart, of a helplessness I've long kept buried inside of me. You should take better care of yourself, I whisper as my voice catches in the back of my throat. Oh, sure, I'll remember that next time someone else comes at me with a giant cleaver. Just gonna stop you right there. Yes, please, Iggs. Like I should take care of my care of myself. So, if you please refrain from forcibly separating pieces of my body. I didn't mean. I squeeze my eyes shut for a moment, then blink them back open. You never care about yourself. Genzu laughs at us. Why the hell should I? I'm basically a walking, talking sack of crap. At least now I've finally started to correct some of my copious wrongs. So rather than actively hurting anyone, I'm only passively annoying the F out of them. That's as close to a win-win as you're gonna get with me. Genzu, we're being serious here, okay? Stop with the jokatives and actually let's get down to the heart-to-heart conversations. Oh, shut the hell up! But words leave my mouth before I can stop them, and Genzu stills instantly. His eyes go wide, cigarette hanging between his lips as his breath hitches. I feel the telltale sting in my throat as water builds beneath my eyes. But as hard as I try to ward it off, my unprecedented snap has already opened the floodgates. My trembling renews as the tears begin dribbling down my cheeks. You have... I can't seem to form the words. I stare down at Genzu's hand until his fingers blur. Have you ever thought about how I feel? I swallow hard, my voice a wobbling tremolo between my lips. Watching you get hurt for me. Another swallow. Watching you die for me. Genzu doesn't say anything. I catch him hearing him breathing, long and slow. I see him blow another plume of smoke into the air. I don't need you to be my selfless knight. Silence. I just need you. More silence. I wipe up my cheeks with a sniff, blinking until the world clears a bit. Then go back to Genzu's hand, wiping the last bits of grime and blood off of his knuckles. Once it feels as clean as I realistically get it, I get the cloth a final rinse in the water before gently tying it around the stump to prevent any further contamination. There, I simply say, my voice still quivering. Hopefully that should help. Genzu grunts, wiggles his fingers. His cigarette has burned down to the filter, so he tosses it into the grass, stamping out the remaining embers beneath the toe of his shoe. More silence. The two of us just sitting there on that wet log, our shoulders barely touching as we stare down at the grass. Genzu crosses his arms. I hear him let out a long sigh, see his knee bouncing ever so slightly. Iggs, he finally says. His voice crackles with pleasure. I glance over, waiting for him to continue. I can try to be better. A pause. I can try for you. I sit up at this, my back and shoulders going tense. No. Genzu's brows twist into an expression of sheer befuddlement that in any other situation might have made me laugh. But now it just frustrates me even more. I shake my head, hands digging into the fabric of my pants. Not for me, for yourself. Iggs, come on! No, Genzu! The stupid fudging tears comes back and I grip my teeth so hard I swear I hear my jaw clack. Who was it that told me to think a little more highly of myself after I nearly jumped straight into that eye-fiend's mouth, huh? Who was it that slapped some sense to me when I said everyone would be better off without me? Iggs. Because yeah, I do have a big problem with blaming everything on myself. But at least I don't try to hide all that woo is me stuff behind some big goofy tough facade. Iggs has just said the word that I've been saying about Genzu for a long time in this game, and that is the fact that he tries to hide behind a facade. So that everything thinks I'm perfectly fine until I'm not. I punch the bottom of my fist slightly against his shoulder as I start to crumble. Until you're not. Another punch. Genzu's mouth is tight. You were never fine, Genzu. I stare down at the zipper of his coat, unable to look at him in the eye. The tears are running rivers down my cheeks again. Genzu just stares down at the top of my head. You were never fine, and I never knew. I never knew. What does it matter? It matters to Iggy, and it should matter to you. Who cares if I'm fine? Who cares if I'm not? I do. Now he's getting louder. His voice crackles as it turns sharp. I get by. I always have. If I want to hate myself, who the hell cares? I do. I care, Genzu. Why? Why the hell do you care? Because I love you. There's a split second where both of us just stare at each other. Like this is a game, why am I crying? Because I care. Then I'm pressing my lips against his. Because it's the only thing I can think of to do. My brain too shell-shocked by the words coming out of my mouth to process anything else. My heart beating too loudly to allow me to think of anything else. And in that moment, we're back on the bed in that darkened room, and we're kissing for the first time. The first kiss I've ever had in my entire life. And all the fear and all the anxiety and all the sheer hopelessness of our situation disappears for just a second. I kiss him even as tears and snot leak down my face, as my lips tremble against his, as my fingers cling to his jacket as though I'm about to fly clean away. Damn. And only after I realise he's not kissing me back do I pull away. I blink to bat away the tears clouding my vision, my mouth hanging open in apprehension. Genzu's just staring at me, his eyes as wide as dinner plates. Oh, Genzu! And a fresh pool of his own tears gathering in the dark bags beneath his eyes. I feel my cheeks start to heat up and jerk my gaze away, suddenly self-conscious. Sorry. I don't know why I apologise, but that's nothing new. I'm always apologising, aren't I? That's pretty much my thing. The tears are running down... Oh gosh! The tears are running rivers down Genzu's cheek now. He brings a hand to his mouth, holds it there, sniffs, clears his throat. Another sniff. Fudge, He seems to be really struggling. And I turn back to him with a look of confusion. Fudge, 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 fudge. Now he has two hands to his face, rubbing at his eyes and cheeks. Are you okay? I ask quietly. No, I'm not okay, Iggs. His gaze goes skyward as he pulls down his cheeks in grey mental anguish. I never. I wipe up my nose, watch him struggle. Oh my god, the sad violin is not helping. I never thought I'd hear you say that. Something about this brings the colour back to my cheeks as I drop my gaze. Oh? Now both of us are just staring down at the bucket of water, crying like a couple of love-struck losers without the emotional maturity to comprehend their feelings. Well, because we kinda are. Genzu coughs. Did you mean it? Of course, yeah. I see. He starts bumping the side of his fist against his nose. I clasp my hands, unclasp them, start picking at my thumb. I know that we have no idea what's gonna happen, or if we're gonna make it out of here, but I guess I wanted to make sure you knew that, so that no matter what I love you too. Damn. Genzu has his hand over his mouth and is staring so intently at the ground. Intensely. I'm surprised he doesn't light the grass itself on fire. Well, it is kind of damp. His cheeks have turned a brilliant shade of red. A tiny smile forms on my face. Yeah. I know. Genzu glances at me, then clutches his hands to his face again. What's wrong? Sorry for that. I wave my hands up in a panic. He pulls his hat down over his eyes, then all the way to his mouth and starts gnawing it like some kind of rabid chipmunk. Genzu? No, I really don't know what to do. The complexities of a man in love for 20 plus years are apparently lost on me. I don't know what to do. I hear Genzu mumble half muffled through the fabric of his hat. Why? And then, so soft I could barely even hear him. I think my heart exploded. Exploded? I grip his shoulders in abject terror for all 5 seconds. Then realise he's being fatuous and feel my muscles unclench themselves one by one. I sit back. Oh, right. Damn. After a few minutes, he finally pulls his hat all the way off, clutching it between his hands. You're so cute, he mumbles, his gaze still pointed downward. This lights a fire behind my cheeks, and I run a hand clumsily through my hair. Genzu clears his throat, shifts a bit, as though trying to reassert whatever dignity he has left. I see him glance at me, his face soft. Can I, kiss you again? Like, all proper and stuff. Oh, sure. I turn towards him, feeling very much out of my element despite my earlier assertion. Proper? What does proper mean? I don't know, both of you meaning it? I sling one of my legs over the log and scooch closer, fingers clutching at the damp bark between us. That laugh again. I can't quite tell if it's at me or at himself or at the situation in general, which just makes me even more flustered. Until his hand finds my cheek, and his palm is soft against my skin, and my eyes flutter just ever so slightly closed, because it's warm. So goddamn warm. When Genzu speaks again, I can hear the tears return to his voice. I love you so goddamn much, Iggs. And then he kisses me. I like to wax poetic about how it feels, about the way he pulls me close, about the way my heart seems to swallow up about 5 sizes in my chest, and even about the way my fingers and toes suddenly don't feel like they belong to me anymore. Some weird floaty tingly appendages attached to a weird floaty tingly mass at my body pressed up against his, but this time it's genuine. Well, for both of them that is. I've never been much of one for words or feelings, or words about feelings, so you'll just have to trust that in the moment. I didn't feel one slight bit cold. In some way, I think that is kind of like the release that Genzu really needed. We don't stay out much longer after that. I guess flustered confessions of love kind of put an end to a serious conversation here. That and Genzu's fervent insistence that my fingers are definitely turning blue, and even if we're all gonna die soon anyway, he's not about to let me get pneumonia on his watch. For once, I don't really care how morbidly sarcastic he's being, because that's, well, Genzu, exactly. So let him usher me back inside, and back over to the stove. Ah, I don't even complain when he won't stop looking at me, because I don't want him to stop. I don't want him to ever stop. His fingers curl around mine, like an anchor keeping me ashore, and my forehead finds his shoulder, my own safe little cocoon, where there aren't any expectations, no judgment, just love, acceptance, and a warmth that fills me from the inside out. My warmth. 2 sources of warmth, but the ones in front of me where my eyes are looking are infinitely more fierce than the fire behind me. I need you. I've always needed you. As Genzu's fingertips trace my cheeks, as his lips press against my forehead, I let myself drift off to sleep. For once, not worried about what morning may bring. You're just being ridiculous. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being rational and conscientious. I'm not wearing those. And I'm not carrying you 20 minutes in when you complain about your feet. They are vile and grotesque. You're vile and grotesque. Yeah, good one, Gidget. Good one. Well, at least don't resort to childish denigration. I shift my head, crack my eyes open, and here we are back inside the cabin. Excellent. Sun is filtering in through the far window and casting on shadows across the cabin floorboards. Morning already? I felt like I've slept about 5 minutes. My face is pressed against the crook of Genzu's arm so snugly, I can practically feel the creases that have formed across my cheek. I'll resort to whatever I need to ensure we make it out of here in one piece. Then you wear the oafish foot accoutrements. Orum, I swear to God I am... I push myself up to a seat, which prompts the two standing by the table to halt their discourse. Waketh night's pale maiden, full and bright. Iggy. Gidget's voice sounds slightly strained. You're up? I blink, then finally reach frantically for my glasses, quickly donning them and squinting back up at the sun-backdropped visages of my companions. Sleep well? I sure did, thank you. The audible smile in Orum's voice becomes visible. For a second, my sleep-addled mind attempts to make heads or tails of the conflicting tones coming at me. Then I glance down at Genzu, currently splayed out on his back and snoring loudly at the ceiling. Oh, right. I was cold, I say simply, but surely the red I can feel fast-tracking its way onto my cheeks is enough to complete the story. Yes, I suppose that would be one Shut up, Orum, you don't know. And he's been quiet for once too. Doubly blessed, then. The rabbit has seen paradise by the dashboard light. It's fine, Iggy. We just didn't want to wake you. Right. Thank you, Gidget, for your considerations. I found porridge in the cupboard. Gidget holds up a barlap sackers, though lifting a prized trophy. You want some? Though I'd make it once we're all up and about, since we still need to figure out the door and all. Whatever it is, we need to go next. Yeah, sure. That sounds fine. I'm pretty sure it is the door. We know it's the door. We definitely know it's the door. Gidget's just looking at me. I can feel a sort of restrained sadness in their gaze. Don't worry, it happened another timeline ago. But they quickly shake it away. Right, I'll get started on it. Orum just seems very unfazed, with his zigzag smile. Then let my gaze drop back to Genzu, still fast asleep. A long tendril drawl has worked its way out of his mouth and is currently tangling off the side of his lip. I press my lips together to keep from smiling. Memories from last night. Or would earlier this morning be a better descriptor? Maybe an amalgamation of both. Colour both my thoughts and cheeks, and I instinctively curl my knees in towards my chest, momentarily lost in thought. Only to jerk out of it when I notice Orum just standing there and staring at me. What? I freeze in place as though I've been caught with my hand in the cookie jar, or a brown sugar Tupperware, as was my case when I was little. Oh, don't mind me. Can a connoisseur not appreciate the arts? Firstly, you're not a connoisseur, and second of all, there are no arts to satisfy your eyeballs. Connoisseur, my butt. A butt connoisseur. Orum, go get some water. Orum grimaces, but does what he's told. Yes, dear. Oh, sorry for laughing so much. He starts through the door. And wear the boots. He stops, grimaces again. Yeah, Orum is probably the least likely one for manual labor around here. especially in his state. Then begrudgingly dons the old tattered pair of boots that had been sitting by the door. Yes, dear. He grabs one of the buckets from off the pile and goes clomping out the door. I watch him go, not moving for a few moments, then eventually turn back to Genzu's sleeping form. What I would give for this to be in my apartment, my bed. We've just awoken on a Sunday morning, and there's zero reason for us to give up. Wholesomeness paradise. So I could just curl back up beside him and return to the sweet bliss of sleep. But that's not reality. Reality is far too cruel for that. And so I lean down and softly trace the side of his cheek with my finger. Gen's nose twitches. He mumbles something, lets out an unbecoming snort, then creaks open his eyes. Hey, he says softly. Hey, I say softly in return. Hey, 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 porridge coming through. I need the stove, people. Gidget steps around us, a large pot in their hands as they attempt to reach the stove top. I jerk back and out of the way, promptly falling on my butt. As next to me, Genzu groans and slowly pushes himself to a seat. Guess I can make way for food. Genzu yawns, wiping blearingly at his face. Yeah, the breakfast bugle and all that. Gidget hums beneath their breath as they start messing with the burners. Move the blankets while you're at it. Not about to trip and break a leg while providing the group with substance of all things. Aye, Captain. Genzu starts gathering up the strewn upholstery littering the floor. I take this opportunity to push myself up to my feet, stretching out the kink in my back as I take in the tint of the morning sun on the hardwood floor. For having been nothing but a place of nightmares leading up to this, there's something quite soft about it now. And maybe it's just because of what happened between Genzu and I last night. Or maybe it's the sheer fact that all four of us are here, waking up, making breakfast. And sure, perhaps getting along isn't the right term, but at least we're not actively trying to murder each other. Either way, something about the sight soothes me, if only for this moment. Things feel at peace. A respite before the storm. Oh, it's going to be a big storm. Before we venture out to make our party whole again, and bring the saga to a close, one way or another. Come on, Eggs. Genzu motions for me, then turns to do the same. Let's get on out of here, out of this forest. But wait! I step forward, instinctively grabbing his wrist. Then we both just stand there, looking at each other. I feel like I have something really important to say, but I just can't. Remember, Genzu, I swallow hard. My gaze drops, and I can feel myself start to tremble. It's okay, Ix. I know. You do? I blink back, the water forming once more in my eyes. You know what? Genzu shoots me with a cheeky grin that you're afraid of the dark. No, that's not it. I blink, then smile. Smile as 1,000 memories, 1,000 moments of heartbreak, 1,000 moments of joy, love, and everything else that is very strong in emotions, forcing the tears back down my cheeks. I chuckle sheepishly and wipe at my eyes. Yeah, then I take his hand, and we go running after the others, leaving the forest and our wonderland behind. Never again to go back to that chaos ever. For me, what did we get? Oh my gosh, our face is as red as a tomato. Genzu confessed to me at after prom. Oh, I, being me, became a bit overwhelmed. A week later, however, I managed to pull myself together and give him a response. Now he's the one that looks wide-eyed. Ah, Iggy, what is with that face? I love it. I didn't say it was a good response. At any rate, we started dating after that. Mostly a shy, nervous kind of thing. But it continued even after I left for college. Genzu calling me almost daily to yelp about this or that. He'd almost visit on occasion, braving the long-distance bus to spend the weekend with me. Ah, this led to me figuring some things out about myself myself sooner rather than later. Fortunately, Genzu ended up being fine with it. Though, part of me always kinda knew he would be. We'd experiment a lot with boundaries after that. What kind of boundaries? To the point where it became a kind of recurring joke between us. Sometimes I'd be okay with more, sometimes I'd be okay with less, but never once would he ever make me feel guilty or judged or that he expected anything of me. I think the only thing he really expects out of you is to be yourself, Iggy. Even when my boundaries would change wildly from one day to the next. After Genzu opened his shop, he asked if I would ever consider, potentially, just maybe, only if I really wanted to of course, moving in with him. How could we say no to a lad like Genzu? I told him I'd consider it. Immediately. Yeah, immediately we shall move in. What the hell is that where, Genzu? After that, we kind of just settled into life. Genzu worked at his shop. I started working freelance. Between the two of us, it's never been too hard to make the bills, even if we both occasionally have our dry spots. I even helped Genzu get his own site online with a digital ordering system, which helped him a lot with the back-end side of things. No, not his back-end. And he was able to stock a larger supply of bike parts and tools for sale, which helped bring in a bit more business, sorry. Sometimes I'll bring my laptop in and work out of his back office. I selfishly find the sounds of his shop a bit comforting, especially because it's Genzu there. Ours isn't a fancy life, but it is our life. An exciting life. Not a romantic life, but it is our life. A life that makes me happy. A life I've chosen for myself and no one else. I still get the occasional deja vu, the sudden flash of a memory, sometimes so brief and so intense it takes the wind out of me. Other times long and drawn out, filling me with a sense of long-lost melancholy. My heart knows what I've been through, even if my head forgets sometimes. No matter how deep the wounds are, the heart will always, and always will remember. It will never fade. Genzu remembers too. Sometimes we'll be doing something and he'll randomly bring up a memory. Hey, you remember when? Doesn't this remind you of? Sheesh, that's just like... And I always have to pause a moment, let the memory fizzle to the surface. Find it there, buried deep within the synapses. But I always do. And then I'll smile. Yeah, I'll say. Even though it doesn't make a lick of sense to me. And then the two of us will go about our day. One last time. One last... Oh my god. Oh, what are those two dolls there? I'm not too sure what those are representations of, but I'm pretty sure they must have some kind of mysterious link with Genzu and Iggy in some ways, like childhood dolls. Or maybe it's like, yeah, it is their childhood dolls, isn't it? With each other. And also Seidai at the very left there. Thank you so much for playing Our Wonderland. This game is dedicated to all those who have taken a long time to figure themselves out, and also my family dog Gasper. This game could never have been created without all the encouragement and support of my fans. Thank you so much everyone for following me on this journey. It's a long journey. And I'm really apologetic actually now for all of the times I've mumbled up my sentences. Also a special thank you to all my beta testers as well as all the composers whose music helped bring life to this game. Until next time. I have words that I'm not too sure I have right now. Oh, that's cute right there. I have a few words I love to say about this game, but they all revolves around the fact that this game has characters that have flaws. Now, I'm not talking about like development flaws or anything along those lines. I'm saying that each and every single one of these characters have so much vitality to them, or vitality to them, that should be a word, that it feels like a 360 experience of the human psyche in some ways. Because the name of a game called Our Wonderland, it speaks about like a land of wonder, of opportunities, of self-enlightenment. It's such a path that we can all walk on. And when the developer says it's like, this is an experience to those who have like gone through a long amount of time of not being able to fathom out what one wants to be in life, or where one wants to go in life, or anything along those lines. It's such a complete experience to me personally as well, because I, even after 30 years, still haven't found out what I really want to do with my life, really. And I wouldn't say this game is necessarily helped me forge that path, but what it has done really is just hunker me down and think to myself that there are so many people out there with these similar kind of psychological experiences. I'm not talking about like physical experiences, but it's like the psychological experiences in which their physical lives have brought upon them when it comes to their everyday activities, what they're used to around them, and everything like that. That it all brings forth into the present day in which you are listening to right now. Like I'm sitting here, like 6 hours and 20 minutes into this recording session, thinking, why have I not taken a large amount of break? And that's just because I've just been so invested into this game, honestly. Like, I haven't unlocked everything, and to be honest, I feel a little bit drained, mainly because of the fact I've been sitting here for so long. But there's just so much love that's gone into this game, so much attention to detail. There's so much behind it, which honestly, I'm not gonna lie here. You could remove half of these CGs and the image will still convey itself very well. But because there's so much involved, this is one of my favorite experiences of all time. And regardless of your stance on like your own sexuality and all that sort of stuff, you can put that to one side and just consider these as individuals, not as labels, because that really attracts from the experience when you start putting labels on things. And the element of expectations is one that really is quite strong with Iggy, because with Iggy's case in particular, I remember in one of the acts, he was fed up with expectations from people. People expected him to be somewhere at a particular time, or expected him to behave in a certain way, or expected him to act in a certain way, or expected him to feel a certain way for another person. But with Genzu and all of us were in particular, I think their only expectations of Iggy is for just Iggy to be himself, which I think that's what Iggy was more or less yearning towards. Whereas with with Gidget, it was more like Gidget wanted Iggy to feel like something in which he's not. Like, I'm really surprised about these rabbits. It's like, hey, some of them did survive, and then they were Thanos snapped out of existence. So they did survive momentarily. This character is one that is enigmatic because this one definitely escaped from the eye between Acts 4 and 5. Because of the fact that, well, the eye, when we looked at it in Arc 5, was, well, completely not how it should be, and must have escaped into the waters. Obviously, they disappeared. The Our Wonderland environment, that was, in and of itself, a splendor, because it's all fantastic at the end of the day here. Like, this experience, it's a game, but it's one in which I see so much love poured into it by the developers. Like, when we encountered this monster, it was like, I just knew that that was Bucks from the get-go, just because it was like a final boss sort of thing. And then also the fact that it was wielding a giant axe, so it's like, yeah, that's another given point and take, that it's Bucks. And it's something that only Iggs managed to fathom out mid-battle, actually, because the others only saw it as like a beast to fight. And that actually is references to our fantastic Wonderland, I believe, where they're wearing their knightly or adventure attires. Also, as we've seen there, they all have different weapons. They have different swords and stuff like that. Orum dagger, Gidget sword, Genzu. Imagine, like, I can't see what weapons he's wielding, but he looks like a ninja. So, what do ninjas have? Not like shurikens, but like a twin pair of swords or something like that. Yuna, it's like, I think this is what Bucks was seeing because of the necklace around Iggs's neck, representing Yuna in this. Like, Yuna wasn't physically in the other world, but it's just what Bucks was seeing. But there's so much love, and I know I've gone through this many times, but all of these characters have fundamental flaws in their own life, and that brings so much. It just brings so much to the table, honestly. And this is the child that was never going to be, like, the child that was snuffed away long before they had a chance to flourish their wings out onto the world, in the real world, taken away long before they have a chance to have any kind of recognition because of Bucks. Bucks was the one, in a way, that probably originated the anomaly or the negativity that brought the tree to the stage as like, no, this is stupid. You're all gonna have to submit to me now, and I want to hear the wishes of the one up here, in which, yeah, a very disformed form, and perhaps even in censored mode that is just a bit too much to show out loud, which I can't really blame actually, because you know, I don't think corpses are the nicest thing to look at, if I'm not gonna lie here. With the animations as well, but just going through each of the characters, like Orum is always very outgoing, but he was very shy at the very start. Gidget, I think Gidget's a bit. Well, actually, let's just talk about Bucks at first. Honestly, Bucks is very hot-headed. Yuna brings Bucks down when it comes to temperament and stuff like that. Just sort of like Orum and Iggy. Orum's very outgoing, Iggy's not. They both complement each other. Yuna and Bucks. Bucks loves to beat people up. Yuna is very down to earth. They both complement each other. When it comes to pairings, there's sort of like not like opposites attracts, but they just naturally align. So yeah, I've gone on for long enough about this outro, but I'm so thankful to the developers for making this game. And I look forward to seeing what other works that they have either right now. I know there's like Our Fantastic Wonderlands, but I think I'm going to give myself a small break from these characters and then see where we go from there. But I'm pretty sure with the text, where it's just like text this character or text that character, there probably is definitely route dependent. But I'll leave you with this final screen. Thank you all so much for watching, and sorry that I teared up in part of Genzu's ending there, when we was like sitting around the log there, when Genzu was self-deprecating, and Iggy was like, don't care what you think, because I care about you, I love you. And also with like Gidget on the ground there, and Orum sleeping, like Orum dancing is like, that was probably like the least saddening route. Gidget was definitely up there for tears, and Genzu, like, well, I also said this as well, that if Iggy wasn't the protagonist, and let's say Orum or Gidget was the protagonist, we'd probably have a much different viewpoint of Genzu. Because Genzu was a bit of an ass towards Orum, not gonna lie. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna give my voice box a break, and I will see you all in the next video, whichever game it might be. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourselves, everyone. Box.